If every single home in the United States was required to have solar panels installed, it would be one of the most ambitious and transformative infrastructure shifts in the country's history. This mandate would reshape energy production, economics, the housing market, the labor force, environmental impact, and even foreign policy. To understand the full picture, we must examine how this change would ripple through society, what challenges would arise, and what benefits could be realized in the short and long term. The first and most immediate effect of mandating solar panels for all U.S. homes would be an unprecedented surge in renewable energy generation. Currently, solar power accounts for only a small percentage of America's electricity, with fossil fuels still dominating the grid. If every household, what from rural cabins to suburban houses to urban rooftops, had solar panels, the country's capacity to generate electricity from the sun could grow exponentially, potentially producing hundreds of gigawatts of clean energy. This could reduce dependence on coal, oil, and natural gas, cutting greenhouse gas emissions significantly. Such a change would also bring monumental shifts to the energy economy. Utility companies, which traditionally control the flow of electricity from centralized plants to homes, would need to adapt to a more decentralized system. Millions of households would become prosumers, both producers and consumers of electricity. Many homes would generate more electricity than they use, feeding the excess back into the grid and potentially earning credits or payments from utilities. This could lead to lower average household energy bills and even the possibility of people turning their homes into small-scale, income-generating power stations. The installation mandate would require massive upfront investment. Solar panels, while increasingly affordable, still represent a significant cost, especially when installed at scale. The federal and state governments might need to provide subsidies, tax credits, or low-interest loans to make compliance financially feasible for homeowners. The economic stimulus from this demand could be enormous. Thousands of new solar installation companies could emerge, creating millions of jobs in manufacturing, logistics, sales, installation, and maintenance. This boom would benefit both skilled and unskilled workers and could revitalize struggling manufacturing towns if solar panel production facilities were built domestically. The real estate market would also undergo transformation. Homes equipped with solar panels would likely be seen as more desirable due to lower energy costs, increasing property values in many areas. This could spark a competitive rush among homeowners to not just install panels, but to invest in higher capacity or more efficient systems to further boost resale value. On the flip side, the initial cost burden might pose a challenge for lower-income homeowners, especially those living in older houses that require roof repairs or structural adjustments before solar panels can be installed. Without adequate government assistance, this could exacerbate inequality in the housing market. From an environmental perspective, the benefits would be substantial. The U.S. could dramatically cut its carbon footprint, aligning with international climate goals and reducing air pollution-related health issues. Cleaner air would mean fewer cases of respiratory diseases, potentially saving billions in healthcare costs annually. Reduced reliance on fossil fuels would also mean fewer oil spills, less mining, and less environmental degradation from extraction processes. Over decades, this shift could help slow climate change impacts like extreme weather, sea level rise, and biodiversity loss. However, a nationwide solar panel mandate would not be without technical challenges. The current electrical grid was designed for centralized power plants, not millions of distributed energy sources. Managing the flow of energy, especially during times when solar production is high but demand is low, would require significant grid upgrades and the widespread adoption of energy storage solutions like large-scale batteries. This would require additional investment and technological innovation to ensure stability and reliability in electricity supply. Another issue is geographic variability. Solar energy potential is not uniform across the U.S. homes. In sunny states like Arizona, Nevada, and California, would generate far more electricity than those in northern or cloudy states like Maine or Washington. This could lead to disparities in cost effectiveness and energy independence. To address this, surplus solar energy from sunny states could be transferred to less sunny states via an upgraded national grid. But such infrastructure projects would take years and billions of dollars to complete. Cultural and political reactions would be mixed. Supporters would see the mandate as a bold step toward a sustainable future, reducing reliance on fossil fuels and foreign energy sources while creating jobs and modernizing the grid. Critics would argue that it represents government overreach, infringing on property rights and forcing citizens to bear significant upfront costs. The political divide could become intense, with debates about whether such a requirement aligns with American values of freedom and individual choice. There would also be questions about maintenance responsibility. Solar panels require occasional cleaning, inspection, and repairs. Not every homeowner has the means, ability, or willingness to maintain them properly. Neglected systems could underperform, reducing the overall effectiveness of the policy. To combat this, service contracts or community-based maintenance programs could be implemented. Beyond residential buildings, the ripple effects would extend to other parts of society. A massive increase in solar panel production would create intense demand for raw materials like silicon, silver, and rare earth elements. This could drive up prices and lead to supply chain bottlenecks unless recycling programs and alternative materials are developed. It could also shift global trade dynamics, making the U.S. less dependent on oil imports but potentially more dependent on countries that mine or produce solar panel components. If done right, the policy could also accelerate innovation in energy storage and efficiency. As homes produce more electricity than they consume during daylight hours, affordable and efficient battery systems would become essential to store surplus power for nighttime use. This could lead to breakthroughs that make renewable energy even more competitive with fossil fuels, not just in the US, but worldwide. Education and workforce training would be critical. Millions of new workers would need to be trained to install, maintain, and upgrade solar systems. High schools, community colleges, and technical institutes could offer specialized programs to prepare the next generation for careers in the renewable energy sector. This could help bridge skill gaps and offer upward mobility for many workers. Over time, the normalization of solar panels on every home could shift cultural attitudes towards sustainability. Energy conservation might become a point of pride, with communities competing to produce the most surplus energy. Homeowners might integrate solar with other green technologies like electric vehicle charging stations, smart home systems, and energy-efficient appliances, creating a more sustainable lifestyle overall. In foreign policy terms, a fully solar-powered residential sector could reduce the U.S.'s strategic dependence on oil-producing nations. This could reshape international alliances, reduce military expenditures related to securing energy supplies, and give the U.S. more leverage in global climate negotiations. Other countries might follow suit, sparking a global renewable energy race. The long-term economic impacts could be profound. Lower household energy costs would free up disposable income, potentially boosting consumer spending in other sectors. However, fossil fuel industries and their workers would face major losses, requiring a just transition plan to retrain and redeploy affected employees into the renewable energy economy. The stock market could also see a shift, with renewable energy companies gaining value while traditional oil and gas companies face decline. There would be an inevitable adjustment period. The first decade after implementation might be marked by logistical challenges, cost debates, and political battles. But as the infrastructure matures, costs fall, and public acceptance grows, the system could stabilize into a highly efficient, resilient, and sustainable energy network. By mid-century, the U.S. could be a model for large-scale renewable integration, demonstrating that economic growth and environmental responsibility can go hand in hand. In essence, mandating solar panels on every U.S. home would be a massive undertaking with far-reaching consequences. The transition would require significant investment, careful planning, and cooperation between government, industry, and citizens. Yet the potential benefits, from cleaner air and lower energy costs to job creation and climate change mitigation, could be transformative, positioning the U.S. as a global leader in sustainable innovation. If this change were implemented with adequate support systems, financial assistance for low-income households, and major investments in grid modernization and storage, it could usher in a new era of clean energy independence. The decision would not just impact today's energy landscape, but shape the future for generations, creating a legacy of sustainability and resilience in the face of climate change.